Hey everybody, Regina Allen here, and it is time for Coffee with Regina. And I have my good friend Sheri-Lynn Fournier with me. I've known Sheri for many years. We were just chatting about that before we got on live. And Sheri-Lynn is the founder of Fournier Accounting and Bookkeeping Services. She's a virtual bookkeeping firm that helps solopreneurs, freelancers, single member LLCs take control of their finances. Good topic at this time of year. Reduce tax season stress and grow their businesses. Welcome, Sheri-Lynn.
Thanks, Regina. I know when we were talking about how long we've known each other, it's hard to believe that Fournier Accounting and Bookkeeping Services has been around that long, let alone that, I've been networking and knowing folks for that long in that capacity.
Yeah. So
like just yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Sure. So for all the folks that are joining in that, because all of my audience knows me as, Autumn Ascent and what I do now. Sheri-Lynn knows me from my very first brick and mortar business, which was Computing Made Simple.
Yep.
That was, that back in 2003, I started that business. So that was, 20 years ago. So yeah, it's been a long time since we've known each other. And, it was actually funny. I was thinking about you the other day because as the year turns, I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why. That's kind of one of the first things on my mind going, oh crap, I got to get all my financial stuff together because April's going to come really quick and my accountant's going to need my stuff.
Oh yeah. You're not the only one. I always say that from like the time right around Halloween, like the year's over. Like, yes, I know we have 2 more months, but it goes so fast that it's like the year is done. We get into the holidays, all the stuff that comes. And then January 1st hits. And so many business owners are like, oh, I still have time. I can get this done. And then in a blink of an eye, it's like March 31st. And they're like, oh, I got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not alone in that. Most people do. Many business people are like, oh yeah, I have to get this together.
Yeah, I mean, I've done this.
And my phone starts ringing.
Yeah, I bet it does. I have been in the past one of those people who, fly by the seat of my pants. I get the stuff done and I keep stuff up on a regular basis. And yet, when it comes to the end of the year, that time I was like, oh yeah, well, I still have to get this stuff in. I still have to get that stuff in. I still have to get this stuff in. And it's like, how do I not get this stuff done? And so when you think about bookkeeping as a small business, right, especially if you're a solopreneur or freelancer or something like that, it's one of those necessary. I'm going to call it a necessary evil.
For most people, it is.
But what is so important about bookkeeping for a small business owner?
Oh, it goes well. I mean, the number one is obviously taxes. Like we're in tax season. Like it's December 3rd. We are January 3rd. I'm sorry. We are hot in the United States tax season. It is just we're in it, and accurate bookkeeping is the number one way to save on your taxes, both on what you have to pay the government and on what you have to pay your tax preparer. Accurate books are the number one way to have those numbers be as low as possible.
I never thought about that before, about the accuracy to keep the cost down.
Yes. It's number one way. When you're working with numbers, you're not overpaying, you're not underpaying, you're not overpaying your CPA or your tax preparer to clean up a mess. Accurate bookkeeping is the number one way to keep your tax bill low. Beyond that, it's all the regular stuff. Can you afford to hire somebody? Even if that's a contractor, can you afford a virtual assistant? Can you afford to outsource payroll? Can you afford to buy that new piece of equipment? Am I profitable? Am I growing? Where am I making my money? So many business owners don't know. We all have more than one thing. Even if you think like I'm a bookkeeper, but I have more than one thing. I have monthly, I have quarterly, I have weekly, I have cleanups, I have coaching, I have all that stuff. It's important to know which one of those are bringing in the most money.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense because Yeah, a lot of, especially most of the audience that I work with, and a lot of the folks here in this community are coaches and consultants or small business owners. And the coaches and consultants specifically, they tend to, we all tend to have a lower price program, a higher price program, our high ticket program, that kind of thing. And it's good to know, well, which one's really working well, because the environment changes all the time, especially in coaching and consulting. And so, there are people out there that create a program and then they expect that that's the same program it's going to be for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. And the only way you can see if it's working or not is through your bookkeeping, right?
That's right. Through your revenue. What did it cost to create? And have you made that money back? How long did it take you to make that money back? And then, is it bringing in revenue? Yeah, those are all huge, important things to know on more than an annual basis for your bookkeeping. Like, those are things you should know at the minimum quarterly, but you should really be looking at them on a monthly basis just to see.
Yeah. When you think about, especially as small business owners, right? You think about that whole idea of, oh, I need to hire a bookkeeper. I need to hire this. I need to hire that. And especially if you're starting out or 5 years or less in business, that kind of thing. A lot of times it can be really daunting, and an idea of going, oh, I have to hire this person, hire that person. How am I going to do all this stuff? It's like I'm trying to get this business started, let alone this. When it comes to bookkeeping, that's one of the critical pieces of the foundational businesses of your business, is making sure that your financials are, in place. So do you have any like ideas, tips, or anything like that you could, if somebody's starting out, what do they need to work with?
So if someone's starting out, the best thing, I'm not going to sit here and say you absolutely 100% need to spend money on a bookkeeper to get your book set up and to have them do bookkeeping. I know many, many, many business owners who are perfectly happy and capable of doing their own books. They do it well. They do it accurately. It's fine. One of the things that is important, though, is to make sure that it's set up correctly. I can't tell you how many people come to me because their CPA said you set up your books all wrong, and I'm not touching them. And now they're paying for a year of cleanup. So finding bookkeepers, whether it's me or other bookkeepers out there in your area who are willing to either set up your books correctly for you or review what you've done, is huge. And you can do your books on spreadsheet. As a startup, there are some great ones out there available. I personally like accounting software better because it can offer you more insight and more information. It has less, there's less of a chance of a formula getting messed up somewhere down the road.
I was going to say less mistakes, because I know I started out with an Excel spreadsheet.
Less mistakes, less data entry. There's less data entry with a software. And I mean, I'm pretty exclusively QuickBooks Online. I love that software. It's the software I use. It's the software I specialize in. I totally am also a realist and understand that the cost of QuickBooks Online can be a very big pill for a brand new business to swallow. So I would recommend either, most everything's going online now. Most everything's going into the cloud. A good starter free software for a startup would be Wave. Wave apps would be is an excellent place. Very basic reporting. It'll give you a profit and loss. It'll give you a balance sheet. It has very basic reporting, but it is better to start there, and it'll connect to your bank. So you just have to categorize your transactions. You don't actually have to enter them. They get downloaded right away, and then you just place them into the correct category. So that makes bookkeeping easier too. A lot of it is time. That's why most people don't like to do it. They'd rather spend the time doing something else.
Yeah, and it's so funny because you were the one who first told me about Wave, and I hadn't known about Wave when we had our conversation. And yesterday, when I did my tips and tricks, I actually was talking about 10 tools, and I added one for kind of each area of
Mhm.
business that, needs to be kind of really in place to get your foundation there. And for accounting, I started with QuickBooks, and then I mentioned Wave only because you had mentioned it. And then I went out and I checked it out, and I was like, that's a really cool software.
It's
And what I
yeah.
saw was that, most of it, for all the basic stuff, it's free.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's not a great, I mean, it doesn't give you a great reconciliation report. It doesn't, there's a couple of things it can't do. But if you're a startup or a small single person out there freelancing, or, selling on Etsy or whatever it might be, it's a really good starter place. And as you grow, Wave can export into QuickBooks Online. So
Wow.
as you grow, you can move your data over to QuickBooks Online when your business gets to a place where that is the software that makes more sense.
Yeah, and that's super important too. And you said a couple things in there. So even if you're like a business person who's like just selling stuff on Etsy, or doing these little side gigs, it's a side business or whatever, you still need to do the accounting for it.
Yeah.
And these kind of programs like Wave and stuff, I looked into some of the details of it. I was like, this is a really cool program. More people should know about this.
Yeah. I got introduced to it by a couple of clients who were very small when they came to me, and eventually they grew and we moved them into QuickBooks Online. But yeah, I was like, okay, this is not bad. Like, for a free software, because I've used some of the other ones and they're not great. But for a free cloud-based software, this can do what a lot of startups and freelancers need in the beginning.
Hmm. It's actually funny because as we're talking about this here, I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, accounting, the financials, the bookkeeping, this is such a boring subject that nobody likes to talk about. And yet, I guess there are ways to make bookkeeping fun.
There can be ways to make bookkeeping fun. Yeah, and there are people, I mean, my husband's a photographer. He's a creative guy, right? He's been a photographer for almost 30 years now. Bookkeeping, not his thing. It's just his eyes glaze over and he's like, I don't, So finding ways to make it less daunting is really the biggest piece to make sure that when it comes to that tax season, when you start growing, when you're looking at your bookkeeping, when you're looking at your business, if you're on the right track. Because so many business owners wait, and then they're coming to me because they're getting the IRS letter saying, hey, you haven't paid taxes in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and now it's panic time. And unfortunately, that's going to cost them a lot more money than if they had just kept up with it from the get-go.
Now, is there a certain amount of money that you need to be making before you need to really worry about, getting into some, I don't want to call it heavy duty bookkeeping, but, making sure, I mean, Excel spreadsheet until you're at this amount, and then you move to something like Wave, and then you move into QuickBooks. Is there something like that?
I wouldn't put necessarily a dollar amount. I would more put how much time is it taking you? Like, if you have 5 sales a month and maybe 3 recurring transactions that aren't recurring. We all have those that are just automatic. Like, every month the phone bill comes out. Every month the insurance, your insurance comes out, or whatever, those sorts of things. But those, if you don't have that much, then no. Once it gets to be you're tracking multiple streams of income, you have more than maybe 10 expenses a month, then you really need to start looking at some sort of software that can take that data entry time off your plate, that can make sure that if something hits your checking account, it's also hitting an expense account or an income account. Like that double-sided bookkeeping. There's a jargon word that I try so hard to avoid jargon. But making sure that it's entered correctly, even if you don't have it in the right category, at least it's the accounting back end of it is correct.
Yeah. Now you said something in there about, like the electricity bill, the insurance bill, and stuff like that. So I'm guessing you may help people with this. So if you're somebody who works from home,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a home office,
Yep.
and do you help people figure out, it's like, okay, well, your home office is X percentage of your home electric. I mean, does that have to be accounted for?
It does when you get to tax time. It does not in your day-to-day bookkeeping. You can. I have clients who do. But that home office deduction, there's a lot of, the IRS keeps making it harder and harder to take the home office deduction. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And I don't do taxes. I tried it way back in the beginning of my career, when I first started my business, realized I really don't like it. It's complicated. It's frustrating. It's something nobody likes to have to pay, even when you've made, like, you made money, so you owe taxes, and that's not a happy conversation. Everyone wants money back from the government. No one wants to give it to them. So that's something that I tend to defer to their tax preparer, for the main reason that the tax preparer knows their whole picture. They know all the other things what their investments are, what their loans are, what their home value is, dependents, like all the other things that go into your taxes. So I am very cognizant of staying in my lane, and like, the business is the business. And if it's something that kind of bleeds into both areas, I will then recommend that we have a 3-way conversation with the tax preparer about the best way to record that in the business.
Yeah, you just hit what was going through my head, because I was like, okay, so if I have to go explain it to my tax guy or girl about what's going on, and I'm not really into the bookkeeping stuff, I'm like, I need you with me to have this conversation, because I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And here's the thing. I talk about for anybody who owns a business, stay in your core genius. So work with what it is that you do best,
Yep.
and then you outsource the rest. You hire VAs, you hire a bookkeeper, whatever it is. Stay in your core genius. Do what you do best. Be the CEO of your company.
Absolutely.
And outsource the rest. So there's things that, as a lot of newer businesses, they come up and they're like, oh, I need to learn how to do this. I need to learn how to do bookkeeping. I need to learn how to create websites. I need to learn how to create all this social media marketing stuff. It's like, if that's not your core genius and that's not what you do, then you don't need to learn that stuff. You need to find people like you to outsource it to. And so when you say something about, finances, and you're like, well, who do I talk to? So when you meet somebody for the first time and somebody's introduced to you, what do you like, have like an initial conversation to see, can I help them, or what do you do?
Yeah, I have usually a half an hour free consult where we talk about their business. We talk about what's frustrating them. We talk about, what brought them to this place that they're calling me. Was it their CPA told them, go call somebody before you come back? Was it that they're just frustrated, tired, they don't want to do it anymore? Whatever that may be. And then we talk about how their process is. So if it was with you, I'd be like, okay, so how do you bill your clients? How do they pay you? Like, you bill an invoice, or is it automatic? Do they pay you by check? Do they pay you by credit card? How do they pay you? How do you pay your bills? Do you have any credit cards, any loans, any vehicles, those sorts of things, so that we can then figure out if we're a right fit through that conversation. And I have more than once told the person, I'm not the right bookkeeper for you. As you know, Regina, I'm a networker. I have a huge Rolodex of names and numbers. And so I will often say, I think one of these 2 or 3 other people might be a better fit. And we'll happily make the introductions for them. Mm-hmm. And if they are a good fit, then we move on to the next steps of getting access to their books, taking a look, getting their data, and going from there. And the great thing is virtually I can help anybody anywhere in the US. I don't go international.
Yeah, I don't even know what tax things are, accounting and stuff like that would be, internationally. So that would be a whole different ball game. then
I have enough trouble staying up with the laws in the United States. I don't want to know Canada and
yeah. Well,
the
I
European
was
Union and
yeah. I was chuckling as you were saying, when you first talk to somebody, you ask them about, what's frustrating with them. And I was chuckling because I was like, numbers.
Yep.
That's what's frustrating me is numbers.
numbers.
It's like, I want to do what I do. I want to stay in my core genius. I
Mhm.
want to do my training. I want to do my consulting. I want to do what I do best. And I want somebody else to think about that stuff. I want
Yep.
somebody else to say, okay, you know what? You just give me the stuff and I will take care of that for you. I mean, that's
Yep.
what is about growing a business. So if you are starting out or small and you're calling yourself a solopreneur, you and I had this conversation a little while ago. I don't use solopreneurs. There's no such thing as a solopreneur. If you're a solopreneur, then you basically have a hobby that you created a job for yourself. That's what you've done. You probably work, all kinds of weird hours and maybe weekends and nights or whatever, because you aren't creating a business or a company. You're basically creating a new job for yourself that probably you're spending more hours in than you did when you were working for somebody else. And so, stop and think about what you're doing. It's if you want to create something that is tangible, even if it's a small business that, you are just a solo consultant, you don't really have any legacy stuff, you're not looking to sell it, you're just looking to do what you do until you're done doing it. That's still a business, and you need your support team around you. And one of the key pieces of your support team is the accounting stuff and who's doing your bookkeeping and who's making sure that the numbers are right so that you don't have the IRS knocking on your door.
Yep. Yep. And my clients, I'll get a set of, most of my clients don't like numbers either. Like they don't. They're electricians and they're massage therapists and they're business coaches and they're people who are doing what they love to do, and don't love numbers. Because if they did love numbers, they'd be doing what I do instead. So they get their reports, but every one of them gets a little summary in real English, not accounting jargon, that says you made this much money this month and it was more or less than that last month. You've made this much money year to date and it was more or less than last year. You owe this much money to your creditors. This much money is owed to you from your customers and clients. It's a very simple summary so that they don't have to go into the reports if they don't want to. They just need to read that one page and have a pretty good understanding of where they stand.
Yeah, I really love that because, no matter how your business is, you need something in place to do that. I remember, way back when I first started that first business where I first met you, when I had my Computing Made Simple business, that was brick and mortar. And when I first started out, I was solo, and then I hired an employee, and then I hired more employees. I had a brick and mortar location on the main drag here in the town that I live in. And, all of a sudden, bookkeeping was a really important thing because I had to keep track of all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, when I first started thinking about it, as I was growing, as I was stepping all that stuff up and I was looking at it, I started, going, I need to take some classes. I need to take some accounting classes. I need to learn how to use QuickBooks. I need to learn stuff to do this. And then I realized really quickly, it's like, you do realize that you can hire somebody else who actually likes doing this stuff, right? that was when people like you came into my life, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I need you in my life because this is not my lane and I don't want to work there. I don't want to spend my hours that could be hours in my core genius doing what I do best, working with my clients, helping them create their businesses and be more profitable and doing their thing, instead of me sitting there going, oh, man, crap, I got to get my bookkeeping done this week. And I'm going to spend hours doing that because I really don't know what I'm doing and I don't like it. So I'm procrastinating because I don't want to do it in the first place. So now I just spent 2 hours procrastinating about doing it that I got nothing else done. And now I spend a couple hours on it because I really don't know what I'm doing. And I'm taking my time and I'm still procrastinating while I'm doing it.
Yeah. So
I could save
that's
all of
4
that
hours
time
that you could have billed out to somebody else and made some money.
Yeah, exactly. Or I could hire you and I could be going over there and working with somebody, working with a client. It's like,
yep. Or there so many of my clients eventually come to me because their spouse, whether it's husband or wife, who also has a full-time job, is doing their books on the weekends. And now you're taking up valuable family time to be doing books. And it's something that they're not trained to do. It's something that they don't enjoy doing. They would much rather be out, at the kids' soccer game or hockey game or, going to the beach for the day or whatever. Even just, watching a movie and playing board games with your kids, whatever it might be, instead of doing the books. So
you just brought back a memory for me of many, many years ago, long before I met you, long before I was married. And I was dating a guy who was a Snap-on tool guy.
Yep.
So he had his business. I was the one who balanced his books. And I was like, I just realized that. I was like, wow, I did all of his bookkeeping and I hated it. And that's exactly what I did. I would sit there in his room on the floor, actually, on a weekend and balance his books.
Yep.
And when you just brought back that memory, I was like, wow, I have actually been doing that and I've really hated it for a long time.
Yeah. There, and
so
growing up, my dad owned his own insurance brokerage and he did his own books. And but he was also military and very disciplined. And I'm not sure he loved it, but he didn't hate it. And he was very good at it. But he's a very, rare soul out there. Most business owners don't. And most of them say, well, it's just, it's like reconciling, it's like, balancing your checkbook for your household. So, whoever does that in the house can also do my business books. It is, but it isn't. And they may not like the household one either, but they're doing it because it's necessary. Somebody has to pay the bills for the house. But why take up valuable family time or couple time or business income generating time on something that can easily be outsourced? And I think most people would be surprised, depending on where you live. Bookkeeping does not have to be that expensive. It really doesn't.
Yeah. And I think that's what first goes through people's minds. Like, oh my gosh, I have to hire a bookkeeper. How much is that going to cost?
Right.
And I know you have some stuff going on that you do, the standard bookkeeping. You got some cool stuff coming up.
I do.
That it's even going to make it easier for like those people who are like, well, I kind of sort of, I'm not quite ready to hire a full-time bookkeeper yet. And yet I need something.
Yep.
So tell us about what you're working on.
Yeah. So launching this quarter, I don't have a firm launch date yet. I'm still working out all the details and getting all the pieces into place, but launching this quarter. So before the end of March this year, I will be launching a membership site called, right now, the working title is FABS, Fournier Accounting and Bookkeeping Services, FABS Business Membership. And what it'll be is you'll have a bookkeeper in your corner. I will be there to put tips and tricks in a private Facebook group that you'll have access to as a member. We do a monthly Q&A live, sort of like this, where people can submit their bookkeeping questions to me ahead of time, and I will answer them live in a Facebook group. There will be a dedicated email to me for anyone who has a confidential question. And then a quarterly webinar.
That is awesome.
And and daily in the Facebook group will be tips, tricks, little gentle reminders of like, hey, you know what? It's the first week of January. Have you downloaded your bank statements? Here in the US, it's the first week of January. Do you have all your W-9s for your contractors? Because 1099s need to go out by the end of the month. Those sorts of things. Something that's just a little somewhere where they can get support and have a person in their corner. For those businesses that are not ready to, don't want to, or cannot afford a actual outsourced bookkeeper.
That is an awesome idea. I absolutely love that. It kind of like melds okay, I really don't want to do this myself, but right now I have to do it myself because I'm not quite ready for that. And that jump to, I need to hire the bookkeeper. It's kind of like the happy medium of the stepping stone of the, okay, well, I can still do it and I don't have to procrastinate and worry about it because somebody's, keeping me accountable. Somebody's giving me tips, and there's somebody there in my back pocket. If I have a question, I could just ask.
Yep.
I love that. I love that
I
idea.
can just ask. Yeah. I have somebody. And then the vision is there may be if this becomes popular, there will be a secondary level, a higher level of membership where, I would help you like review your QuickBooks, work with you on some of the things for year end and tax planning and that sort of stuff. So, but we're going to do the first level first. The basic level's coming first. And then hopefully by the end of the year, the more premium level will be launched.
As a business consultant, I have to say I'm totally jazzed up about this idea. That is a fabulous idea. I love that. I love that, as a business consultant going, wow, that's a great idea. And I love that model. And for the folks that I work with in my community going, wow, you need to check this out because this is a great resource for you. Yeah. So it's, it's all great. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah. And again, like with my own business and the kind of people I like to work with, my plan is to keep the membership fee reasonable so that it is something that most small business owners can swing in their budget.
Yeah, I love that. So I put your website up here on the screen. Yep. If people want to get a hold of you, what kind of stuff are they finding on your website there?
So on the website, they will find, the services I currently offer. I have a blog that does a lot of what I was just talking about, a lot of information about just general running a business. The newest blog post will be going up this probably next week, and it'll be common accounting scams and how to avoid them.
Very cool.
How to recognize them and how to avoid them. And then there's blogs about all kinds of stuff, all sorts of things. And then there's also a link to set up a 30-minute consult with me and talk about your books and where you are and what you think you need. And like I said, I'm happy to, if I think I'm the right person to help, I'm happy to help. If I don't think I'm the right person to help, I will be very honest and tell you that's not in my lane, that's not in my wheelhouse, and help you find someone that it is.
I love that. And I love the fact that you do, it's kind of a heart-to-heart business. It's a, hey, if I can help you, great. If I can't help you, I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to help you find somebody who can help you, which, that's how we do business. It's all about, it's the heart-to-heart. It's the, how can I provide value? The value might not be from me. The value might be from somebody that I know that's better for you. Because at the end of the day, we all want our clients to succeed.
Absolutely.
And have the right people to create their success. And if that right person, it's not just about, cha-ching. It's not just about making a sale. It's about creating the right community, creating the right client family that works. And if it's not the right family, hey, maybe this one's better for you.
Yep.
Let me introduce you.
Absolutely. I made that mistake. I will be honest. It took me more than once making the same mistake to learn from it. But more than once, I made the mistake of chasing the money and not the fit. And
turned out bad every time.
Turned out bad every single time.
I tell people that all the time, and
every
sometimes you have to learn that lesson.
Yep, and I had to learn it more than once.
Well, we are actually just
a tad there now. I think it's there now.
we're just a tad bit over time. I have to say, Sheri-Lynn, thank you so much for making bookkeeping and accounting sound much more enjoyable to me right now. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and there's so many great tidbits in here for folks to pull from. And check out the blog on our site there. The site's right under there. Check out our blog on there, because I know there's lots of great information on there that you're looking for something. You're like, I'm not sure if I want to hire somebody yet. I need to find out information. You can go and search all over the place and get 5 million different opinions. I can tell you right now, I've known Sheri-Lynn for many, many years. She's been doing this for a long, long time. I know that she knows what she's doing. I'm a reference for you if you need one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciated this chat. And for everybody who's watching and catching the replay, if you're catching the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments so that we know that you caught the replay. And Sheri-Lynn's going to keep us updated as to what's going on with this launch, and we will make sure that you know all about that. So I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for now.